Traders, I have a confession to make. The last 6 months, my trading has absolutely fucking sucked, if you can't tell. The last 2 weeks has just been taking losses after loss. 3 weeks prior to that has just been no trading at all. 3 weeks prior to that, a little bit of wins, but it really has felt like making back losses. And then everything before that has just pretty much been straight up losing or not trading at all. And I look at my P&L sheet for the year, because we're 6 months into the year. I like looking at it halfway. I'm like, well, how much money have we made? Nothing. I've spent the entire year just battling back and forth from my losses. And I know the cause of that. The root cause of that is my focus. My focus has not been in trading entirely. It's been here. It's been building this compound, this trading floor, and just learning a new venture, because maybe I can diversify to this into the future. And it has taken away from my trading. That's entirely my fault, and I take full responsibility. Obviously, the market conditions don't help, right? You have the craziest fundamentals that have happened ever, coincidentally happening at the same time. So maybe that impacts the 20-30%. But me not being in top of the market, prioritizing my trades, has also a very large, significant impact. So I know exactly what's the root cause of this, and I'm going to fix it. Just gonna log back in with trading and make it my priority again. So hopefully this trading floor is done in the next 30 days. So I have other traders in here that also hold me accountable and keep me on top of my game. So that being said, I have fucking sucked in my trading and I take full responsibility. Time to fix it.
My trading has also sucked, right? I've just noticed that for the past 1 month right now, I haven't really been performing as well as I used to, right? Even this last week, I really spent the entire week avoiding a lot of losses. So I'll show you exactly some examples. Like, you see this one right here. I was actually planning on selling. I didn't actually trade this week, by the way. I was planning on selling. I was simply waiting for price to be under area of interest to sell. As you can see, my alert is right here. Never got executed, right? And price pretty much shifted structure, right? GBP I was looking to buy right here, somewhere around here, but I was not getting clean break and retest to enter, right? So this right here is the break, but the retracement is not really deep enough. I can't really enter this market. So another loss avoided, as you can see from right here. So another trade was this one right here. I was actually calling this one on the Telegram channel, by the way. I'll show you guys, but I was looking to sell this market and price was pretty much bullish. I was simply waiting for price to actually shift bearish and have a break and retest under this level, which never happened, and price continued bullish. So another loss avoided. I just kept on avoiding a lot of losses this last week. This was a trade. Anyway, I did not actually execute this trade, right? What I was simply waiting for was a break and retest above here, right? Was a break and retest above here. So even JPY, this was supposed to be another trade I was paying attention to. I was simply waiting for price to actually have a break and retest above this level, just like this, right, to buy, but I never got that opportunity. Again, another loss avoided. So you guys notice that the Telegram this week was very, very quiet. If you notice, I was just dropping trade ideas, but I did not actually execute any of the trades because none of the trades were ready. So it seems like we are not really doing anything, but at the background, we could have lost a lot this week if we just had entered without waiting for the original game plan, right? I think there was also another very clean trade, GPBUSD for sales, right? So this trade was ready right here, right? Short right here. So this right here is the clean break, retracement and engulfing right here, right? So this right here was the clean trade. And from what I'm seeing on the data, it does not make sense to just put your stop loss here, actually, right? It makes sense to put your stop loss around this level or even above this area if possible, right? But it's too much. So we'll just put our stop loss above the EME, just like this, and target 1 is to 2, right? Now, I could have been in on this market. I plan to enter this market, but the only reason I did not enter this market, right, was simply because we had this, let me show you guys. We had this minor area of interest right here. So if you look at least right here, you can see that here price came to this price point. I actually had a reaction to the upside. It came to this price point and bought up strongly. Same thing here and same thing here. So because of that, and we also had a trend line right here. As you can see, we had one touch here. This is second touch. I don't really usually use trend line, but in this case I was going to use it because I saw reactions from this level, right? So I was now simply waiting for a new break right here, a retracement to sell. Now this trade would have really paid me because it was a very clean setup, but it got stopped out by a week out, by the way, right? So I was just being extra careful just because I've noticed that the patterns, or I've noticed that the market is shifting structure way too much recently, right? So that's why I was being extra careful and simply waiting for a cleaner break under this level. So if you actually took GBP and actually lost, well, it was not really a bad trade. It was just um the fact that you probably did not take into consideration this minor level right here. So that is that. But I still believe GBP USD is going to continue selling this new week. So this might be the new game plan. We'll wait for a better retracement. Let me remove this. We'll wait for a better retracement. As you can see, this is the game plan right here. Break, retracement. As you can see, this right here is the break. So if you can have a retracement back into this level, we'll be interested in still selling GBP USD, right? So that's how my week consisted. That's how my week went. I actually most of the trades actually started changing structures to the different direction that I predicted. So I never really got an entry on any of those markets, right? So let us break down 20 pairs and see which pairs we'll be trading next week. So, but like I mentioned on GPBUSD, first of all, we are going to be selling that pair, right? So, but I'll delete everything. I need to see if it's the same perspective I'll have, right? All right. So now let's go over to the daily. Let's go over to the weekly first. Let's see what is there. Weekly time frame, as you can tell, well, it's technically still bullish, right? But last week was a bearish candle. It makes sense that this market might have a tiny retracement like a week and continue bearish. Why? Because we have not really reached weekly structural point yet, right? Now that is not. It doesn't mean that it must happen, right? It doesn't mean it must happen because there's a invisible area of interest here on the weekly that I'll show you guys right here, right? So that's where price was actually reacting from. If you check it from last week, right? So there was a doji, that was the reaction, and then an engulfing. So usually after engulfing, we expect that we continue selling to the downside usually, right? But that's that on the weekly. But the weekly is actually bullish, right? Now, daily time frame, as you can see, the same area. That's why we are strongly looking for sales on this area. But I was just waiting for that minor break of that box I show you guys, and now I mean, we just missed the trade basically, but it could have actually been a week out, right? Could have actually been a week out. So now, I'll remove this area of interest because we'll not be using it. It's a weekly area of interest and it has already reacted. We are looking for a new one now. This is the daily time frame. Let's see if we can get another area of interest. Okay, let me draw this area right here. I'll look on the 4-hour time frame to see if it's clean, right? Okay, so let's go over to the 4-hour time frame. Let's go over to the 4-hour time frame. So 4-hour time frame. Now on the 4-hour time frame, the area of interest is a little bit more cleaner, right? This will be the area right here. We had multiple rejections from this area. Even over to the left, you can see that there's a rejection right here. There's a rejection right here. There's rejection right here. Same thing right here. As you can see, same thing right here, and so on and so on, right? So now what will make more sense in this market is simply to wait for a retracement back into somewhere around this level to sell, right? Again, I'll still be drawing that minor area of interest that I drew the last time that helped me avoid the loss, right? And I'll draw that trend line again, right? I just need to see those levels. So this is the trend line right here, right? And this is the minor area of interest right here. So if price is getting to this price point, I should expect reactions because price have reacted from that point recently, right? So that's what we're waiting for, a deeper retracement to sell. If we can get the entries, we'll be interested in selling GPBUSD. So I'll be adding it for this week. Now let's continue with other pairs. So this is the next pair, GBP AUD. Let us see what we have. Now GBP AUD, I'm changing my bias to bullish this week, right? And I'll explain why. So let me just delete everything that we have and I'll explain why I'm changing my bias to bullish this week. So first of all, the market structure is what? Daily time frame. If you look at this market structure, well, you can see that it's actually bullish, right? This is now the new highest high and this is now the new higher low, right? Good. Now that is daily time frame, bullish. weekly time frame is technically, well, I'll still call it bearish, even if technically it looks bullish, right? Because you just broke above this structural point, but it's a very tiny break, right? So I'll still be calling it bearish, right? I'll still be calling it bearish because last week was a bullish candle, doesn't mean that this market structure is bullish, right? Now, if I go over to the left, I'm just noticing an area right here, right? This is the weekly time frame, right? Weekly time frame, if you look closely right here, you saw that we had reactions from that area. When we were under, we started reacting, going back to the upside. We reacted from this level right here. Price is currently at that level. That's why this area of interest is vital, right? That's why it's vital. Now, if I go over to the left, you can clearly see that at that same area again, we reacted to the upside very strongly. At that same area, we reacted to the upside. Same thing right here, same thing right here, same thing right here, same thing right here. Going over to the left, and same thing around right here. Now, let me explain how this area is a very strong area, because maybe you don't understand, but this area is, let me show you guys. This area is a strong area that's been respected by price for over 1,771 days, right? So this area is like, since, let me at least say, since 2021 to 2026, this area has been respected by price. So are you going to say we are going to just ignore it? Definitely not, right? Definitely not. Now we can now go to the daily time frame and see what we have. Now, looking at the daily chart at that period in time, you could have said that you needed a retracement into this area, into an area of interest around this level to buy, right? That's what you could have said, and that's probably what you have on your chart right now, right? But now, explain that weekly time frame, you can see that that's really not a good idea, because you'll be buying right into that area. What will make more sense is what? Well, if you can have that retracement, it will be better, because that will have a cleaner market structure, but will not be interested in buying immediately, right? It's possible that price could actually continue buying from there, but what we are going to simply be looking for is for price to now currently be trading above that area that is very strong, right? And then have a retracement of that area, hoping that it's going to hold. And obviously, if it's going to hold, we are going to be seeing signs, right? And seeing structure to the upside, and then we can start buying from this area. So this area is a way more valid area, right? Going over to the 4-hour time frame now, you can see that the 4-hour chart is very clean for this retracement to buy, right? But explaining that area of interest, this is a weekly area that has been expected by price for over 1,000 days. I am not going to be hoping that it's going to get broken this week. No, I will be expecting price to actually be trading above that area first before I start paying attention to the market. I hope that makes sense. So that's pretty much my game plan on GBP right? So I'll simply be waiting for price to be trading above this area to be interested in buying. So do I ID for this week? Well, price is currently at that area, so anything can really happen this new week, right? You might actually have a retracement and have the break this new week. Then maybe next week we can now start looking for the market structure I'll be looking for here to buy. So I'll just be adding it, keeping it close. I need to monitor to see how it's going. So next pair, GBP JPY. Let us see what we have on that market. Now we delete everything to see a cleaner perspective, and it seems like price just shifted structure bearish, right? So daily time frame is currently bearish. The area of interest we're going to be using right here is going to be this one right here, right? And let's see how the weekly looks. By the way, weekly time frame is pretty much two dojis, right? It seems like price is reacting from this level, and this is the structural point. So if you're actually going to be selling, we should pretty much be targeting somewhere around this level, right? Somewhere around this level. So let me look at the daily again to see. Yes, that is actually also the daily structural point. So market is bearish. Let me see clearly. So market is bearish right now, but I believe you need more market structure to decide. Just like this, then we can potentially sell to this level right here, right? So that is that for GBP JPY. It's not so clean. That's why I'll not be adding it for this week, but I do have a bias of selling this market if we get the opportunity. Now, the next pair we have is GPBUSD. Now, GPBUSD loss avoided because we are simply waiting for a shift of structure. Market just simply continues bullish, and we cannot really be interested in a bullish market when our bias for last week was simply bearish, right? We are simply expecting that because this is the lower low, this is the lower high, we expect a retracement and reasons around here for us to sell. So our reason that we got right here was for price to actually shift bearish on the 1 hour time frame, which never happened, and we avoided the loss, right? Now, avoiding loss is also part of the game because it helps you protect money. In this market, you try your best to protect your money or make money, right? You don't want to actually enter the market to lose, but losses are part of the game, right? But you are in the market not to go and dash your money to the market. You are there to make money, right? So if you can avoid losses, it's better. And if you cannot avoid losses, try to make profit, right? If you lose, well, try to have a good RR so that you can actually have a recovery factor to actually make your losses back, right? Not revenge trading. That can never really make your money back because you must lose more money when you are revenge trading. So anyway, that is that for daily time frame. Daily time frame is bullish. I mean bearish overall. I mean we could be selling from here, but it does not make sense that well, right? I believe we could actually be selling from here. In fact, all right, you know what? Time out. Let me actually break down this market well. Let's go over. Let's start with the weekly. Now, weekly time frame is what? Weekly time frame is uh actually technically bullish, right? So this is actually supposed to be the lower low. Let me show you guys. Lower low right here because this low is actually lower than this low. So that is the lower low, normal. So having the retracement, if you're tracing it all the way back to look for where the lower high, this is actually where the lower high will be, right here. These candles right here. But if you look at this last week, you can clearly see that that was a very strong bullish week. So and that candle actually closed, right? If it didn't close above here, maybe we'll argue that it's still bearish, but it actually closed above this orange line. So that actually makes the weekly time frame bullish, right? But is that the only information we have? We also have another information. Let me show you guys. Now, this is the second information. We have an area right here that price is respecting. At least you can clearly see the clear rejection from this area. You can clearly see it right here. You can clearly see it right here, right? So that's another information, right? We have an area right there. Okay. So let me delete these two things and go over to the daily time frame. Now, coming to the daily time frame, you can see we reacted from that area once. We stall around this area and actually reacted from that area. Let's go over to the left and see more. We reacted from this area. When we are below, we are selling to the downside, and when we are above, we started buying to the upside, right? And here when we are below, again, we reacted from that same level. So there's something going on that level that is actually making price react, right? All right. Now price is currently at that area right now, right? Okay, so that's just the information. The bullish momentum coming back into that area is very strong, right? It doesn't mean that we'll start selling immediately, right? It's just an observation that price is currently at that area that clearly, when it was there before, it reacted to the downside, even while we were bullish, by the way. So let's go over to the 4 hour and see what we have. Now, 4 hour time frame is clearly bullish, right? Clearly bullish. Now, what we want to see is for price to shift bearish. So what we want to see is this. Price should continue bullish, right? And potentially break this orange line right here, right? And shift that structure for us to sell, right? The reason we are looking for sales is simply because we are under the area. So coming to that area, we expect that that area will hold for price to shift bearish, right? But we cannot really sell in a bullish market because this market structure is actually bullish, right? Even if you are under area, the market structure is still bullish. So we have to wait for that market structure to shift bearish. So we wait for more market structure. So this might take an extra week for price to do this. Well, if price doesn't do this and it continue bullish, then next week we'll start looking for reasons to buy this market, right? I hope that makes sense. So we need 4 hour to shift bearish, right? The daily is already bearish, I believe. Yes, the daily is already bearish. So if 4 hour shift bearish, we'll now have 2 time frame in sync, right? And then we'll also wait for the 1 hour to shift bearish for us to be interested. And if we can actually catch this trade, it's going to be a big one because the final take profit target on this market is actually all the way here, right? Let me show you guys. It's all the way down here. So that is the daily structural point. So imagine catching this trade. Let's assume this is the 1 hour time frame. Imagine catching this trade from here, right? Then stop loss somewhere around here or thereabouts. and then you target daily structural point, that's going to give us a 1:6 risk reward ratio, right? Now, the reason my stop loss is like this is not because this I was drawing this market structure on the 4 hour time frame, right? On the 1 hour time frame, it's actually going to be smaller, right? So there will be minor structures right here, and then our stop loss will be somewhere around area of interest, I believe. And then we can actually sell. This might be a 1:6 risk reward ratio trade if we can get this, right? But we can't just jump right into it right now. It doesn't make sense. We need structure to shift bearish. From the EME, at least be looking at the EME. Once we start shifting structure bearish, we start paying attention to GBPNZD, right? So that's that for GBPNZD. Do I add it for this week? Well, let us add it because we need to monitor that trade to see if it plays out. All right, so which pair did I finish calling right now? GBPNZD. Okay, let me add it for this week. Now let's look at gold. Right, let's look at gold. I don't know if I predicted gold sales last week. Trying to remember, but I believe we had a head and shoulders. I think we wanted to enter gold last week. Something like yes, I think this is good setup last week. We're looking for sales, but I was waiting for London to enter, but seems like the market shifted structure. I think this was around here, right? It was around here. I was waiting for markets for London session to kick in, but as soon as London session kick in, we started buying to the upside, right? But I still believe that this market could have a sell to the downside, but I was no longer paying attention to this market at the time, right? Our entry could have been around here, right? Because this right here, we had the left head, right shoulder. We are currently under EME. We had the structure to the downside. We had the retracement, but the engulfing was just way too big. And I'm sure it's a news candle, right? So that's the only reason I didn't drop this trade again. So we avoided loss the first time, but we could have actually entered here, right here, and actually catch, let's see how many pips. Potential, 1,300 pips, right? But, we didn't get that opportunity anyways. So let us see what we have. Let us see what we have right now. So, well, clearly you can see that gold is clearly bearish, right? And the only thing we don't like is that gold is at the lowest point. If I go over to the back, over to the left, you can see that this happened in March, right? Price has pretty much not come to this level since March. So let's look at the daily time frame to see these markets closely. Now, gold, let us see. Seems like gold used to respect highs, right? Let me see. Okay. Seems like gold used to respect highs. So let me show you what I'm looking at right here. So let me come closer. Let me come closer right here. As you can see. So if you noticed, where was I even looking at again? I've forgotten where I was looking at. Okay, right here. Never mind. Okay, so on gold, let us see. This is what I'm expecting to happen on gold. Right, this is a daily area of interest, right? Let's go over to the 4 hour. I believe that this market will just continue selling, right, until it tells us otherwise, right? For now, I still believe that this market will continue selling because that's clearly been selling. By the way, look at the EME, right? That's clearly been selling. So I believe that if you are going to continue selling, we'll pretty much continue selling from here because gold sometimes it doesn't even give that retracement. But if it actually gives the retracement, then here will be the perfect point to sell from again, right? I don't know if this is going to happen next week or not, right? But we'll just monitor and see how it goes, right? So gold, I believe that if we can have a retracement back into this area, stop loss above here will be very safe. Then we can sell gold. GBP JPY. I think I've analyzed GBP JPY. Next pair, NZD JPY. This is another loss avoided. I don't know if I've covered this, but um, we did not get a break and retest above, so we never really bought, and price premium sold. I believe this was NFP, right? So what? Let me tell you guys what happened on NFP. Basically, the result was good for dollar. That's just pretty much what happened. So if any result is good for dollar, that simply means that dollar will be gaining strength. And if dollar is gaining strength, and you understand how base currency and code currency works, you know that you have to be selling USD pairs, right? Right? Because you have to be selling USD pairs because they work inversely with what DXY is doing, basically, right? So I was expecting that this new week we'll have the break and retest above here. Seems like we just shifted structure totally, right? Well, let us see if we can get another opportunity on this market. But if we cannot get this opportunity, seems like we're not even going to be getting the opportunity. By the way, the area of interest that we have on this market is going to be this one right here. I think there's another one right here. So it's still possible that price could actually buy from these levels, right? But I don't know. Am I ready to risk it? The EMA, by the way, is looking very bearish to me, right? I believe if you can have shift of structure, we can actually buy to the upside, but I don't know if this is going to happen, right? I'm not feeling confident in this market, so I'm not adding it for this week simply because I'm not feeling confident in this market. But the market structure is bearish. By the way, another thing that could actually potentially happen is having a retracement, right, back into somewhere around this level because the market structure is still bearish to continue selling. It's also very possible. That's another possibility, right? GPBUSD was another trade we avoided. By the way, this we never really took it, right, because we are under area of interest. It doesn't make sense to buy from here, right? I was actually paying attention to this market right here, looking for reasons to buy, which never really happened, right? So now seems like we might actually be getting sell opportunities on NZD next week, right? Now let us see what we have. Daily time frame. Let's delete everything. See a cleaner perspective. Daily time frame is what is bearish, right? Daily time frame is bearish. Area of interest we are going to be using will be clearly this one right here because that is the cleanest area of interest we can clearly see right here, right? Now let's look at the weekly to see what we have. Now you can just tell that the weekly was very strongly bearish this last week, right? But the weekly time frame is what I'll just call it bearish, right? I'll call it bearish. Now 4-hour time frame. All right, this is the thing I was explaining on NZD right? So I believe only one will give us the opportunity. So here, because the market structure is still bearish, we could have a retracement to sell. That is pretty much the same thing I'm looking at right now, right? The market structure is bearish. We are looking for a retracement to around area of interest to sell. So I'll be careful with these two pairs, right? Now that area of interest, if you look at the forward, you can clearly see it's very clean, major reactions from that area, right? So once we are having that retracement back into area of interest, I'll be careful to see the market structure that will be delivered on that area of interest, right? Before I'll actually be interested, right? Because I know that this market also has the potential to just keep on buying, right? But if price gets to area of interest and starts showing us bearish signs, then I'll be interested in selling, right? That will be the same price action I'll be waiting for on the 1 hour time frame. So NZD, let's just bring it close because I'll be interested in that market. NZD card, again, very similar price action. I was waiting for price to shift bullish, right? Which it did right here, but was not above EME. So I was not really that confident, right? It was not above EME. But even if it was not above EME, the retracement, there was no the retracement, there was no confirmatory entry, which is the engulfing. So we never even entered the trade to begin with. Again, another loss avoided this new week. So let us see what we have right now. All right, NZD card. I don't think I'll be interested in this market. The daily time frame is telling me that this market could actually start buying from here because you have been selling way too much, right? But we also have an area. You also have an area right here. If you go over to the left, you can see the area. Let me show you. Let me just show you guys. This right here, 1 reaction, 2 reaction, and 3 reaction. That shows you that this area is a valid area, right? 4, 5, 6 reactions from this area. So there's a potential that price could actually react from this area to the upside. I'm telling you, if any of these NZD cards or NZD pairs actually buys, right, they have a very high risk reward ratio potential, right? They can actually buy all the way back to daily structural point, because the idea is for the daily structure to actually create a new high, right? But we don't want it to create a new high. We'll just take it right at where it stopped the previous time. That would be the safest place to actually take profit, right? So if you can actually look for buys around here, which by the way, we cannot be buying right now when there's a very strong candle right here, right? We need a slowdown. So at least we need Monday to have a doji, Tuesday to have like a doji and engulfing or thereabouts, right? Or an engulfing doji, and then we need the 4-hour structure to shift bullish, right? Because the daily is already bullish, right? Then we need the 4-hour to shift bullish, and then we'll start paying attention to the 1 hour for entries. And if you can catch this trade, right, then it's going to be a very big trade. So I think I should also keep that to monitor. But for 4-hour to shift bearish, it's really going to take a lot, right? It's going to have to create more structures to the downside, right? It's going to have to create more structure to the downside. So it's going to be a very tricky one. But if you can catch it, it's going to be a very big, high risk reward ratio trade. So what do? I'll just keep it close. Because I don't think it's going to be ready. AUD USD. Again, this one was another loss avoided. Market was still bullish at the time. I expected price for us to continue bullish. For us to continue bullish, we should have a break above this high to continue buying, which he never continued bullish. He started shifting structure to the downside, and again another loss avoided. So now that shifting structure to the downside, we are now interested in continue selling because it's now shifting structure to the downside right now. So let's delete everything we have and go over to the daily time frame, because I like when the daily time frame is very, very clean. It gives you very clean perspective on what to do. Now that the market structure is now clearly bearish, as you can clearly tell, we have a very solid area of interest right here. Let me show you guys right here. So if you look at this area of interest very clearly, you can see, okay, you might not be able to see it. So let's go over to the 4-hour time frame so that I'll show you guys. So look at the area of interest right here. Multiple reactions from this area. Anytime we came to this area, something is happening. We are buying to the upside. Sometimes we actually close below that area a little bit, but we still ended up buying to the upside, and so on, right? Same thing around this level right here. When we are below that area, we started reacting from that same area and selling to the downside. Sometimes we close a little above, but we ended up selling to the downside. So now we are not a little below this area, right? If we are a little below, we could assume that this market could actually shift structure again, because that's happened before, right? But now we are not a little below. We are very clearly below this area, very clearly. So now what will make more sense is a minor retracement back into somewhere around this level to sell, right? So let's go back to the daily and see if that makes sense. So daily, I'll expand this area a little bit. But let me see something here. If we get an entry, where's the final take profit? The final take profit looks like it's going to be this one right here. And it's also going to be a very big trade. It's also going to be a very big trade, right? Anyway, we are going to have to wait for that retracement first to see what happens. But I expect that we will be selling AUD USD if we can get the opportunity next week, right? So that's that for AUD USD. CAD JPY. It seems like I have an alert here, so let us see what we have there. Okay, let's go over to the forward to see the alert. Okay, so at the time we were bullish. Seems like, okay, I was paying attention to CAD JPY this week, right? So at the time we were bullish, we were clearly breaking highs. If you look at this right here, we broke above this high, have a retracement, we were buying. Here we broke above this high, have a retracement, but I was paying attention to this high, right? I explained to you guys last week why I didn't wanted to enter around this level. I wanted price to actually start breaking here for me to be interested in buying, right? Because of all these highs. Now, these highs are supposed to be take profit target. Usually, if we are taking profits at a point where we believe we should take profit, it means that we expect that we don't believe that price will continue going in our direction, right? Let me explain what I mean. What I mean is this: if you are selling, right, and then you have a final take profit target, and that final take profit target is based on market structure, not really based on you want to just take 1:2, right? You want to take a final take profit target. You will take it maybe on the daily time frame or wherever you are going to be taking it. Now, what you believe is that price will continue selling until price gets to that take profit target, and after that take profit target, you don't believe that price will continue selling, right? Because if you believe price will continue selling, why not hold for more longer? Do you understand what I mean? Now, that was the only reason why I was very skeptical when you entered the industry right here. Because if I was going to be buying from here, where does the final take profit target looks like? It looks around this highs on the daily time frame. If you check it, is it around these highs? So I actually need price to now be trading above that highs. That's why I was waiting for this break and retest. I actually need price to start trading above this highs, because if that is the final take profit target and it's not up to 1:2, it might actually start reversing, and you can clearly see that's exactly what happened, right? So because of that, I was not really interested in this market. I was clearly waiting for price to now create new high, start breaking above this high. Then I can now look for a new take profit target, which I might actually take profit around here or something. So that's pretty much it, and that's how I avoided that loss again. Now let us see what we have. Daily time frame. All right, this market structure, I don't like it. I think we have better markets to be paying attention to, so I'm not even interested. Euro AUD. So Euro AUD, this market is when? April. Okay, I remember. You see that April market, I was just testing something. So okay, you know what? Let me show you guys. Let me just show you guys. I don't know how I'm going to find it now, but let me show you guys. All right, I think this is the market right here. Is it GBP/CHF? Okay, it's not GBP/CHF. It's GBP/CHF I was referring to anyway. I'll show you guys when we get to GPBUSD, but this was another market. We actually took it on the Telegram. Just that it's in April. I'm not sure if I can start going all the way there. You know what? Let's just do it. I think this is the one right here. Euro what? Euro AUD. Yes. So this is the trade right here. It's the same trade as this one, right? So this particular trade, I was just testing something to see. I was in this particular example, I was actually targeting this structural point, right? Daily structural point. So if I target that point, it would have actually given me a 1:3 ratio, and all I had to do was wait 2 extra days, right? 2 extra days for that extra final take profit targets, right? So the trade would have taken 15 days. Now let me explain what I was trying to explain. Let me explain what I was trying to like come up with, why I was doing this, right? This trade right here, which we actually took, was a 1:2 ratio, by the way, right? But if I just set and forget a little bit longer, I would have gotten 1:3 without any other work. If you notice from that trade, I've not actually taken any other trade since then. Do you understand? So only on this trade, if I just held for longer, I would have closed more. Same thing happened on GBP/CHF. Let me show you guys. I don't know if it's still on my chart. Let me check it. Okay, this is the trade right here, and this is this final take profit target. If I just held for a little bit more longer, I could have closed in 1:2.3. This one is it's not really that big, but if I was targeting daily structural points, that's where my final take profit target would have been. So what I'm just trying to say is this, right? Sometimes just targeting the final take profit target might actually be more profitable. It's still on the testing phase. I'm still running a test on it to know, right? Might actually be way more profitable, because I mean, they are going to sacrifice more days trying to hold the trade, but it might actually be more profitable because you will actually barely see any other trade on that market for maybe even 1 month. Very possible, right? So just holding for extra few days, right, might not actually hurt your account. It might actually be way more profitable. So I'll just run a test on that. I'll let you guys know what the result of that is. right? So I'm actually make a full video just explaining that, right? If you guys want to, just let me know in the comments, right? So CAD JPY not interested. Euro AUD, Euro AUD sounds very familiar. I think ALEG is on this trade. Okay, ALEG is on this trade. Euro AUD, right? But I'm not on this trade anyways. So let me show you guys what we have right now to see maybe we can actually join him on this trade or not, right? All right, so let's see. What do we have? First thing we notice is that this point looks like the lowest point that this price has gone to before, right? Now, the second lowest point is this one right here, and this happened in 2024. So let's pay attention. Let us simply pay attention to what's going on right now, right? So let's just draw a very let's just draw a box right here because price has clearly never traded below that box, right? That is first information. Now, daily time frame, what's the market structure saying now? If you look at this was supposed to be the lowest point at the time, but if you look at this now, this is now the new lower low, as you can see. So this was the lowest point in this market, by the way, right? And then the lower high for that was this one right here. Now, if you look closely, you can clearly see we broke above that, making this the new higher high, and this the new higher low. Now, clearly, we are clearly above that area right now, which makes the new higher high, and the higher low for that is actually this one right here. Now, what information is that telling us right now? Telling us that daily is clearly bullish, right? Weekly time frame, I don't actually expect it to be bullish, right? But we have a strong engulfing that engulfed about 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So last week basically engulfed 1 month of price action. It's crazy, right? That shows you that there's now buyers in that market. Okay, so 4 hour time frame now. Now 4 hour time frame had a little bit of consolidation. You can clearly tell that from the EMA. But right now, it seems to be gaining momentum to the upside, right? There's a very high chance that price could actually continue going to the upside if you have a retracement to around this level or maybe this highs right here, right? To continue buying to the upside. But I don't know. I'm not still feeling very confident on this market. The 4 hour is pretty much is bullish, but there's no clean structures. It's not having a clean high and low like this. It just pretty much straight to me. So I don't know how to enter the market, right? But I actually believe this market is good. Let me show you guys where I think this market will buy all the way to, right? Let me show you guys. This is where I think market will buy all the way to. Market might buy all the way to this level right here. So it's also a very big trade. It's also a very big trade. So this is what I believe will happen. Markets will have a retracement to somewhere around here, right? Preferably around these highs, and then buy all the way to here. That is going to be a very big risk reward ratio trade, right? Euro AUD, that is going to be a very, very big risk reward ratio trade. So I don't mind, seriously, if I have an entry on this market, I'll let you guys know on the Telegram, by the way, right? I'll let you guys know what it is on the Telegram. So if you're not in the Telegram, it's very easy how to join. Come over to the Telegram channel right here. Click on this one that says and one more link. If you click on that, it will give you this page right here. Click on this one that says Telegram and it should take you to the Telegram channel, right? Then you can see when I feel like I'm interested in actually buying this market, which could potentially give us only God knows how many risk reward ratio is going to potentially give us. If I'm entering on a daily time frame, for example, and I'm actually putting my stop loss here, that alone is going to give me 1:3.8. But you do know that we are not really entering on a daily time frame. We're going to be entering on a 1 hour time frame, which means our stop loss will actually be way more smaller because we'll have more structures, and that might actually be a 1:10 risk reward ratio. So I don't know, if I get opportunities on this market, I'll be interested. What will make sense for me, maybe it might be a break above these highs, right? So let's see how the forward looks again. Sorry. Anyway, if I see the opportunity and I'm ready, I'll let you guys know on the Telegram. Let's pay attention to other pairs and see what we have. All right, so Euro USD. All right, Euro USD. Market structure is what? Currently at the lower low, at the lowest point. It's not really bearish actually. It's technically bearish, but we have not actually broken below this low. We are at that low. So what I believe is that this market could actually continue selling, right? But I'm not going to be forcing it just because. Let me explain what I mean. What I mean, right? Higher high right here, higher low, higher low. If you notice, price is at that point, right? We haven't really broken it. Normally, we are supposed to break it for market to shift structure bearish, right? But we have not broken it yet, right? And because of that, I am not interested, right? But I believe that this market structure is bearish, and I also believe that if you have a retracement back into here to sell, it's also a good trade. I also like this area right here for potential retracement, right? Also like this area right here for potential retracement to continue selling. It's not a bad trade at all. But I think I already have GPBUSD. Most of them move similar. Sorry, Euro USD and Euro and GBP USD move similar. So I think I'll be paying more attention to GBP USD in this scenario, right? Euro USD, just because it did not shift structure clearly, which it might actually shift structure by Monday though, right? But because it did not shift structure, I'll not be interested for now, right? For now. Next pair we have USD card. I expect USD card to be pumping to the upside clearly because USD is gaining strength, right? All right, so let us see what we have right now. Daily time frame, bullish. Weekly should also be bullish, as you can see. And 4-hour time frame is also bullish. So what makes sense on this market is having a retracement to around this level to buy, but we are at that high again now. This high, whatever happened was market was bullish. If you can clearly see, you can see the market was bullish at the time. But I don't know what happened to this high. The price started reacting from that high. He tried again to try and break above that high, but he started selling very strongly to the downside. Now it's the same thing. The market is clearly bullish right now, but we are at that high, that same high again. I don't know whether you understand what I mean, because who says that what happened before will not happen again? It might actually happen and actually start selling strongly to the downside. So I don't know. I don't think I'm interested for now. Right? We have to see how next week starts to kick in. Right? So I'll just be paying attention to that high. So I'll just draw the high like this to just pay attention to it. Right? There's a potential that this high could actually sell. It happened before, by the way. I didn't even notice. This right here, it happened before. This was the one I was showing you guys on the 4-hour time frame. Twice reacted from that area, started selling. We are at that area again. It might actually continue selling. Right? So for now, I'll still be paying attention and just be monitoring to see how it goes. Right? If you start trading above that high, then we will start targeting these highs again. Right? For now, I don't really have any clear bias on USD card. Euro JPY, not interested. I think we have better pairs to pay attention to. GBP card. Okay. All right. So GBP card, we have a very strong area right here, and price is currently at the area, and we are reacting from that area. This is the daily time frame, but the daily time frame is bearish. All right. Right. Daily time frame is bearish. We are currently under EMA. I was paying attention to this market because we have a very strong, we could actually earn very well from this particular pair, GBP card, right? But I think we need bearish signs. Price has already reacted from the strong area of interest and has started breaking structure to the downside. But to me, this is not really, I can't really enter anywhere from here, right? Simply because it's just a one line. I need structures. I need structures like highs and lows. I need highs and lows to find where to enter, right? To find where to enter before I can sell. This right here to me is just one line. Let me show you guys. Just one line, just like this, right? I can't really enter on a one line. I need structures like this to enter. So for now, I believe that this market will actually, to be honest, I do believe that this market will sell, right? I do believe this market could sell, but I'm not really adding it for this week simply because I don't know how to sell it, right? I believe it will sell, but I don't know where to join and how to sell it. So that is that for GP card. GP CHF daily time frame is not that clean, right? I think we have better pairs to be paying attention to, so I'm not be interested. USD JPY, I just simply believe that USD will continue pumping, right? But they're at highs, right? These highs again are final take profit target. So if you are entering here, you should be targeting here as your final take profit target. So if price is already there, how can we just buy right into final take profit target? How are we sure that price is not going to react from that take profit target and sell again from right here, right? So that is the only reason I'm not interested. Euro GBP. Now Euro GBP pretty much has been bouncing off of this level. Bounce here, go over to this level, sell from here, bounce from here, sell from here, bounce from here, sell from here. Well, if I see any bullish markets or bullish signs around here, I'm buying, right? I'm buying. I've seen a pattern already. And if I see any bullish signs, I'll be buying, right? So, but for now, the signs are still very bearish. So I'm not really interested for now. I need price to come back into this area that he likes bouncing from and start shifting structure bullish, and EME will not be under. If I see bullish signs, clean break and retest, I'll buy all the way to this level, bro. Right. So that's that for GBP, Euro GBP. But for now, we don't have that opportunity. Euro NZD, I am also not interested. Right. And why? Right. I don't know. Let me see. I don't think the market structure is clean enough. That's the only reason. GPBUSD, I nearly predicted this dump, right? I told you guys we'll have a retracement back into this level, which it actually never really happened, right? But the direction, as you can see, I was hoping for a retracement back into this level to sell. If not, that would have really been a very crazy prediction, crazy dump prediction. I expected the direction was correct, but the point where he has to retrace all the way to did not actually happen, right? So that's that on BTC. AUD card. What? Let's see the daily, the 4-hour time frame. AUD card also looks good for sales. That's if the retracement can happen, right? So something like this is a clean area of interest. If we can retrace all the way back into this area of interest, which is, by the way, too much retracement, then we can look for sales. That's that for AUD card. Same thing with AUD JPY, retracement to sell, and AUD CHF, retracement to buy. But I'm not interested in this market, right? Because we are already at all those highs, right? What makes sense is just a retracement to around this level to buy. Anyway, so but my pairs for this week are very simple. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, 5 pairs for this week. I think these pairs are way more cleaner. Than any other pair. If I can catch this pair, I'll really like it, right? I'll really like it. And if I get 1:2 risk ball ratio on this pair, I'll just break even and potentially hold for the 1:6, right? And potentially hold for the 1:6 if you can get what I'm looking for on this market. GBP NZD. GBP AUD, I explained why this area came about, and GBP USD, expecting that this market will continue selling, right? So that's pretty much the pairs I'm paying attention to for this week. I really hope we get an opportunity. You see, sometimes we hope that we are going to win, but now we don't even know if we are going to get the opportunity again, right? So we really hope we get the opportunities to either buy or sell next week. So that's pretty much it. I'll be making a shorter version of this video to explain these pairs I chose for this week, and I'll see you guys on the Telegram channel, guys.